I'm Herrera.
And I'm Carelle Herrera.
Welcome to Stories of Strength, where we find stories from everyday people who have overcome and have done extraordinary things.
In the world of theater, the first person who would come to mind as strong would be our guest today. From that commanding presence on stage to his huge personality, Jamie Wilson will share his stories of strength.
People probably know him as a VJ, a rocker, an actor, the son of Johnny Wilson, and brother of Monique Wilson. But he is more than that. He is a beautiful human being who has come a long way, and I hope those of you watching today would get inspired in hearing how he overcame his challenges, his pains, and decided to take charge of his life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Wilson. Hi, Jamie.
Hello, Jamie. Hi.
Hi guys. Hello.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you so much for saying yes to our invitation. And, we are so excited to hear from you because we know that you're a man of so many stories and so many insights.
Yep, a lot of stories. I don't know about insights. I don't know about insights, but a lot of stories.
Okay. Sige, so sa dami ng stories, maybe let's start. Who is Jamie? What's your story?
Well, it's a complicated story that started early. I started in theater at 7 years old. And it's been my life ever since. I've been an MTV VJ. I have worked also in production, where I've done technical sounds, light, stage management. I've done costumes. I've done production management, which I hate because it's math. Um, and then I moved on to assistant director and then directing as well, concerts and shows. And during the pandemic, when all my shows were canceled, I should be actually directing for the CCP
Mm,
now,
mm,
which is a bucket list. A long time, imagine directing for a show for the main stage in the CCP. Of course,
mhm.
that was removed. During the pandemic, I reinvented myself. At 48 years old, I had to reinvent myself. I never thought I'd see the day, but then I reinvented myself as a safety officer, which is not a big stretch because as an AD and as a TD, as a technical director, safety is also one of my mandates to keep my crew and my actors safe. So it wasn't such a big stretch to reinvent myself.
Mhm.
In between that, I sing for bands. So in that aspect, there's the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, um, which is always in me. I've always said that I've put a little theater in my rock and roll, and I've put a little rock and roll in my theater. So I belong to all those worlds, and at the same time, I guess I move in my own world, in terms of trying to figure out how to do the work and have fun,
You've
and that's
always
important.
absolutely, and it's with what you're saying, running through all of those things. It's like, oh my goodness, look at the depth of experience of this human being. And at the same time, ever since we've met you, ever since we've seen you on stage, even on TV, you're such a huge personality. You have that commanding personality. And if I would enumerate, like you're on top of my list, and we were coming up with a list of people who are strong, or the people that when you see would say strong person, that's Jamie Wilson. So you're talking about all of these things, all of these experiences, but let me go to that huge personality that you have. That you bring in all of those things, like from being a rock and roll star, a rock star, to bringing it into your theater, bringing theater into your rock and roll. What built this huge
Um,
persona?
I think, well, I've had the good fortune of being trained by some really good people and being exposed early on to some people who are larger than life. Zenaida Amador, Freddie Santos, Baby Barredo, Dodo Lim, Bart Gingona. My father, primarily my major personality comes from my dad. When as soon as my dad walks in the room, there's a sense of command,
Mm,
there's a sense of respect. That's why when anybody calls me sir, I
mm.
look behind me to see if it's my dad behind me. I'm not used to being called sir because I automatically think, what is my dad here? He's dead. Wait. So it kind of freaks me out. But it's funny when you think when you were mentioning that, you're I was on the list of the strong people. It's funny because I don't consider myself strong. I consider I am a jumbo, and a combination of pretty much all the insecurities that a human being can have. I'm insecure about my weight, my nose, my talent, my lack of formal education, my lack of command of our local language of Tagalog. Because my God, I think in English, I speak in English. If you have me do a Tagalog role, I'll need more time to study it.
Uh-huh.
I'm always like the little kid. Whenever I go into a show or a production or a project, I feel like the little kid who hasn't earned enough man points. I'm the only boy and I'm the youngest of three. I've three other siblings, and they're all older, and they're all women, all girls, and they're all much stronger than I am. And I'm being the bunso. It's always A, you're either spoiled, or B, you don't know how to do anything. And I carry that with me each and every time, except that I've just sort of found a way to
Mm-hmm.
face my insecurities and make it work for me. If I'm insecure about my nose, then you know what, I'm proud of my nose. It comes from my mom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that makes me human, that makes me flawed. For me, that makes me more interesting, because perfection is so boring.
Absolutely.
uh in my head, I mean, I've seen beautiful, beautiful people, and at first glance they're gorgeous, and at the same time you're like, yeah, but you have no personality,
Yeah.
because you seem perfect. And developing a personality is all based on more of my failures and all of the things I've done wrong, rather than doing things right, which is a much shorter list of all the right things I've done. So making learning from all my mistakes. I've always tried to keep in mind that if I'm going to make a mistake, don't make the same mistakes. Make
Yes.
whole new mistakes so you can learn from them. And so that's my orientation when I go in. Trying not to make mistakes, obviously, but when you make them, you own up to them and you learn from them. Which for me has probably given me a certain amount of strength, as you may call it. But I think resilience
Mm-mm.
is a better word, because I'm not going to give up. Although there are times in my life where I almost have. And I'm lucky that I didn't give in to that.
Um,
I'll go back to that last part, but yes, go and
sige,
ask your
for
question.
me, I mean, you said that you were lucky enough to be surrounded by big personalities, strong people. And I don't know, with me also, I'm like that. And that actually brings insecurity
Yeah.
because, it's like, okay, I want to be like this, but I'm not like that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but the funny thing is, you were able to like get stuff from them and be who you are, make it part of your own persona. And was it a conscious thing? Like, okay, this is like, I'm going to get this from this person, or I'm going to get his personality, or I'm going to get his
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Was it a conscious thing?
I think it began as an unconscious thing as a child, because as a child growing up in a theater company, you're always sitting at the kiddie table. You're
Mm-hmm.
always relegated. You're always locked up in the makeup room, so you don't interfere with the processes. You don't get in the way of the moving sets.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, there was not much to do except observe people. And the people that I admired, my first theater teacher was Freddie Santos, may he rest in peace, and he was larger than life.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, my God, I'm not like that. So how can I be like that?
Wow.
And eventually you have all your mentors and all your teachers, and your teachers are divided equally. The things, the things that they taught you, the people that you learned what to do, and equally what not to do. Those are all teachers for me. Um, I sort of hear their voices in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and then I emulate them. And
Mm.
somehow they get incorporated into my personality if I have a specific task to do. Like going back to my father,
Yeah.
you'd be amazed as a safety officer when I'm commanding the set.
Mm-hmm.
I freak myself out because I sound like my father
Yeah.
because of his voice of command. I grew up he was vice mayor of Makati when he'd be mobilizing his people, whether it be during campaigns or during emergency operations, when he was a public official, I'd be right there beside him.
Mm-hmm.
And little did I know I would actually, activate his
Yeah.
persona, So, in that sense, that comes from my dad, but
Yes.
offset by the heart of my mom and the humor of my mom. My
Right.
mom laughs at everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep that at my core because
Yes.
she's a lovely human being and she's much easier to get along with. My dad was difficult, you
Yes.
know.
It's interesting that you were talking about the insecurities. You said maybe not to call it strong because you're a mixture of all of those insecurities. But then again, let me reiterate, Jamie, that it doesn't mean that if a person is strong, you don't have any insecurities. You were built
True.
that way, like, hey, I was born strong.
And that's where
No, the strength
strength
comes
comes from
from.
also, right?
Yeah.
So, galing.
Actually, what I want to also look at is like, from you already mentioned a little bit a while ago about, if I'm insecure about this, well then I embraced it. Or if I'm insecure about that, well then let me make that as part of my persona and my personality. I can compensate for something else. And I used to have that kind of mindset too, okay, I don't have big boobs, I'm not that sexy, I'll be the funny girl. I had that.
Yeah,
So that compensated for my own physical
yeah.
insecurities as a teenager. So if you are to talk about, probably, what were your biggest challenges? Like, maybe name me three.
Sige, yung sinabi niya kasi kanina, when you said that, I'm really glad I
I
didn't give
didn't give
up.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what were those times na close to giving up? What
Yeah.
was it like?
Okay. One of the darkest times I've had was during my sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I was deep into drug addiction,
Mhm.
and I was turning into a person that held nothing else holy except for my habit.
Mhm.
So even my art, my craft, my skills, my family, my loved ones were all secondary to me feeding my drug addiction. And there was a time where I was on my mother's balcony
Mhm.
and looking down. We were on the 12th floor, and I was looking down, and I was already very calmly and very coolly figuring out where I want to jump. Because in terms of suicidal tendencies, I'm a jumper. I'm not a shooter. I'm not a cutter. I'm not a hanger. I am a
Mhm.
jumper.
Mhm.
Because at least for those few seconds, I can fly. That's my thinking. And I was already deciding where to land. So I was looking down the balcony and I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I jump here, baka matamaan ko yung kotse tapos makakasuhan pa yung airmat ko. Wag na lang, di ba? So I go to the other part of the balcony. Uy, there's a playground. Ay, hassle naman kung bata yung makakahanap ng
Mm.
body ko. These things were just going through my head and I realized, Jimmy, what the hell are you doing? What saved me from actually pushing through with that was the realization of all the sacrifices my parents made for me. And for me to erase that and not, you know,
Knowledge.
not only acknowledge it, but then parang sayang eh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sayang lahat ng hard work, all the sacrifices they made in raising me. I mean, my God, all the headaches I gave them, growing up.
Mhm.
If I had just erased them in by jumping, then it would be basically confirming that yeah, I was good for nothing. And
Wow.
that made me realize, no, wait, I have to be good for something. There's a reason why I'm here. I just didn't like the person I was turning into. So immediately I confessed to my family that I have a drug addiction. And you know what the reaction was? They're like, uh-huh, and like they all knew,
Okay.
but it just took me to admit it, right?
Mhm.
And so there started the process of cleaning up. And I didn't go into any rehab because for me, rehab, you just get more connections.
Mhm.
It's not something, I'm not the personality that can be locked up and told not to do something. I have to be the one to tell myself, no, you shouldn't be doing this because this is not good for you. Or the person that you're going to become is not, you are not your mother's son. You are not your sister's brother anymore. You're not the human being that you wanted to be because all you are is driven by a drug addiction, by a habit. And that is power over you. So I had to remove that power over me, in that sense, on a daily basis. And it's still a daily struggle. It's much easier today, than it was, say, a few years ago. And I just locked it down into one thing. When I was in a corporate, I had to remove all my friends who were who were in that world.
Mm-hmm.
I had to not go out and drink because then my resolve would weaken after a few drinks. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to be in control of myself and my appetites and my habits. And I locked it down to when I was working in corporate. On my way home, there's an intersection I would come across when I'd be in a cab on my way home. And basically, I locked it down. If I turn left, I'm going to score. If I turn right, I'm going home. So just turn right, Jamie. Turn right. And that helped me maintain my cleanliness. And, all of a sudden, things that I never paid attention to in my past, all of a sudden became very important to me. Like how a man is only as good as his word, your integrity, your family legacy, making your parents proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
All that. I never spent 1 second thinking or considering that or those things.
Mm-mm.
And when I cleaned up and I had a clarity of my sense of purpose and my sense of reason why I'm here, all of a sudden these things are very important to me because I am my father's son, I am my mother's son, and I have something not only to uphold, but something to prove that I can be my own man, not a carbon copy of my father, nor a carbon copy of my mom, but I can be my own person, but bringing forward the values that they worked so hard to instill in me that I conveniently ignored in the haze of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And
Mm-mm.
now, it's still rock and roll,
Mm-hmm.
but I am high. I get high off the work. I get high
Yeah,
off the experience. I get high from being able to still do what I love to some degree
absolutely.
without needing substances or external substances or even external approval. Because basically, I hear the voices of my mom and my dad and my tita Mila, who's like my second mom, who raised me. I hear their voices in my head. My dad's always telling me to get a haircut, but you know, but sometimes my dad says, "Yeah, good job,"
Oh my goodness.
and I never heard that in real life,
I'm so
but
teary
somehow,
eyed hearing your story because I'm getting goosebumps too. I don't know if you
Ang galing
are.
kasi I was about to ask, let's go back to that balcony, no? And then
mm,
sabi ko, what are these voices? Do they sound like anyone? And right when I thought of it, you said na parang, it sounds like my dad, it sounds like my tita
Yeah.
Mila, it sounds like, it's...
But it's just so amazing because Jamie, so many people who are going through drugs, so many people who are going through addiction, they don't know how to get out of it. And
Yeah.
yes, there are people who would need help, like go
yes,
to rehab, go through therapy.
yeah,
But
yeah,
man, what you
Yun,
did.
yun nga gusto ko tanong eh. Jamie, at that point, because were you under the influence?
Yeah.
Kasi the bad thing about drugs is parang you lose control, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
And at that moment, it seemed as if parang you were in control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Were you
it's
under?
the first time I took control. Yes, I was under the influence.
Oh,
Don't get me wrong. Drugs are not a bad thing. I had my fun with drugs. I had a
yeah.
great time.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
great time on drugs until it started controlling me
Mm-hmm.
because of I had to feed that habit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I started turning into a person I didn't like. I
Yes.
didn't
Yes.
like I didn't like my face in the mirror. I didn't like the lack of values. I didn't
Mhm.
like the lack of compassion. I didn't like the lack of simpatico with other human beings because
Mhm.
basically the priority was I got to feed my habit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, screw you if you're getting in my way.
Right.
And that
Right.
included anyone, my mother, my dad, anyone. So I had to cope with that and fight my way back. The one thing that I had to do, I remember during my cleaning up period, is that I listed down everybody that I had wronged, and I had to go knock on their doors and ask for their forgiveness. Some doors, it's in the 10 steps.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very thankful to Kevin Latao, who actually saw the signs in me during a production. I was her road manager. She gave
Uh-huh.
me the blue book of Alcoholics Anonymous,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I read it, and I had to knock on each door, and some doors were slammed in my faces, but some doors let me back in.
God,
So I'm very grateful for that.
I am, alam mo yung parang I want to get up and just, throw my chair. Kasi parang what are you talking about na that is strength. That's
And
holding your demons by the horns and
yeah, it didn't come from anyone.
oh,
It was your
you.
choice. So
I get
no,
if you're gonna do things, right, then you have to do things right, and doing the right thing is never easy.
Yeah.
So when I had doors slammed in my face, I'm like, okay, I gotta write you off,
Right,
or
right,
I've been written off. Actually, I
right,
didn't even write them off. I had been written off, and considering my offense to them, that's completely your choice,
right.
and there's nothing I can do about it. And
That's
I'm very, very
amazing.
thankful for the doors that opened and let me back in. So I
Um,
have, I thankfully have more of those than the ones that were slammed in my face. So thankfully,
yeah,
people saw in me a real change. Some people thought I was worth it
yes,
to let back
yes.
in, and I'm always very thankful for that. I'm always in the pursuit of that. In any room I walk into, am I worth being there? What do I contribute? Whether it be being funny, or telling my war stories, or hey, I can mix good drinks. You know
Mhm,
what I mean?
mhm, mhm.
It's a constant examination of what do you bring into the room with you, and without that, then I might as well be wallpaper.
if
You know what I mean?
yeah, if that didn't happen, like that moment, where would you be now?
Dead in a gutter.
This,
Gold, my wife. She's I tell you now, she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Without her, I'd be dead. Flat out, no question. I'd be dead. If she didn't come into my life, I still don't know what I did to deserve her coming into my life. I still don't know what I did right for her to say yes to me.
mhm.
So I'm trying to figure it out and trying to be worth it every day,
Yeah, yeah.
because really she could do so much better than me. But I am so, so lucky to have her,
You know
because
what?
without her, I'd be
Yeah.
a statistic.
I
I
love
I would be I would be a ay si Jamie, oh sayang no. I'd be that.
I love how you're downplaying, how much, how beautiful you are, from even from a friend's point of view, because your struggles, how you've overcome, that's so inspiring. I mean, if we just sit with you and listen to your stories and why you did that, it's not just because, oh, I want to clean up, I want to sober up, because I don't want to do this, but it became that the drive was not just to validate or acknowledge your parents' desires for you, but to honor them. Can I honor them better? And I'm sure right now, Tita Mila, your mom and your dad, I'm sure they're so proud of whom you've become. And, even if your dad's reminding you to get a haircut every once in a while, yeah, he's so proud of you. And I'm sure Gold is as well, seeing
I hope
this
so.
beautiful human
Oh, she is.
being. She is all
She
the time.
is.
Jamie's this, Jamie's that, Jamie said. Yeah, so always. So um maybe what you just said just really inspired so much in me, because again, so much strength for someone like, if you're in that rut, if you are in that place, how do you pull yourself out? So you said there's that sense of purpose, that there's that
Their voices
voice,
from people you
yeah,
love, people you
Yeah.
respect.
the person you could
Yeah.
be. And then what you said about empathy, you caring about other people, seeing your life from their perspective and their point of view. Um, what I want to ask is, if you are to probably give an advice to somebody who's going through
That right now.
that, yeah, maybe simple steps. I know it's gonna be so difficult for some. It's a different path for each person. But if there
Yeah.
is something that you could say to somebody, dude,
Been there,
been there, done that, this is
need.
what you need.
I'll go into what saw me through the beginnings of the pandemic and the lockdown, when all of us were stuck at home going crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and all your shows are taken away. You don't know what the world is going to end up. You don't know if it's ever going to end. You don't know what the future lays. You don't know how to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically you have to find a reason to smile every day. Find a reason to smile, and it could be the smallest thing. It could be the bigger things. In the beginning, I was, my main reason to smile is because I have a wonderful strong, intelligent woman who loves me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how can I be wrong? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? If there's somebody who loves you and believes in you, or you could simply smile at, I have food on the table.
Yeah.
I woke up today, I opened my eyes and I could breathe today. I have people I can reach out to, whether it be through technology or a phone call. Um, all these things, for me, a smile could be like, wow, look at that beautiful sunset. Or a smile, my reason to smile could be, look, man, you have survived all this crap throughout your entire life. This pandemic ain't gonna fucking kill you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
this is just another fight that you have to win. Or at the very least, if I'm not gonna win, I'm gonna go down fighting.
Was
And
it?
Ooh.
that's something that, that's why a lot of people have, shifted to online and everything. I tried it, I can't. I'm just not the personality to sit down all day on Kumu singing songs in front of my laptop. I have to be out there. So that epiphany of reinventing myself as a safety officer actually came from Gold, because when Gold saw me super depressed because I had no purpose, she knows that I'm mission oriented. So I have to have a mission. And that's when I shine. That's when my superhuman powers come out, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And she started volunteering for Oplan Hatid. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I'm not going to let you go out without me during this pandemic. Hello, you have to get me an ID also.
Right.
So we started volunteering by delivering goods to the frontliners. We were delivering, basically like, either masks or toothpaste or toothbrush or food, to the frontliners via Oplan Hatid. And it gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me a sense of a reason to get up from bed, from my slumber, and get something done today because I had no more shows. And that when once we got used to the safety protocols right away, I had I had a brain fart and I put it on Facebook. Hey, I can be a safety officer.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of comments that I got and the amount of support I got from Lisa, from Dave
Mm-hmm.
Fabros, the
Mm-hmm.
FTCP, from the film industry, from my safety officer mentors that I've worked with in countless projects before, said, "Yeah, Jamie, let's do this."
Yeah.
And now it gives me a sense of, it's ironic because being the bunso and the only boy, I've
Mm-hmm.
never had an opportunity or any reason to be a big brother.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm the constant kuya, taking care of 80 people on the set, 50 people on the set. I have to make sure they all work safe and get home safe. So it's a strange twist of karma that I used to be the biggest pasaway in the world. Now I'm taking care of the pasaways kasi basically that's my expertise. I have a PhD in being a pasaway. You know, iniisip niyo pa lang nagawa ko na yan and
Not
worse.
gonna work.
'Di ba? So hindi yan papasa sa akin, 'di ba? Alam ko na yan eh. I wrote the book and the
Right.
sequel,
Oh
'di
my
ba?
God. Ang galing nun.
So it's funny that the universe has given me this opportunity to do that. But it all stems from finding a reason to smile every
Yeah.
day. Be something to be thankful for, that you're breathing,
Yeah.
that you can open your eyes, that you have, that you know that somehow, somewhere out there, somebody believes in you and somebody loves you, whether it be out there or whether you're living with them.
Mm-hmm.
There's
It
a reason why this person, this amazing person, still believes in you, still trusts you, still loves you. So be worth it,
it
you
seems
know?
like you've mastered like finding things to be thankful for, and things that make you smile. What if for those people who can't find anything? How was it always this easy for you to
No, no. It was, it's how you play your brain. It's a switch in your head. If you wake up and you look at things that are everything that's going wrong in the world, you'll be overwhelmed
Yeah.
because look how many wrong things are going on in the world, right?
Right. Right.
Um, but if you switch to the things that make you happy,
Mm-hmm.
listen to music. For me, listening to music was so therapeutic. It's so ironic. During the pandemic, was the first time in years that I
Mm-hmm.
actually sat down and listened to music that I wanted to listen to,
Oh,
because I'm in musical theater.
yeah.
yeah.
So during the period that we're rehearsing, all I'm listening to are my songs and the songs of the production. And then when
Exactly.
I go to the next one, I'm listening to that. That constituted my playlist. So
Mhm.
when all my shows were canceled, I'm like, I can listen to whatever music I want because I have no songs to learn. And that alone was such an opportunity. I mean, I'm sitting down here, I'm depressed in this room, in this very room, you know, and I'm thinking, well, hey, I can listen to I can listen to David Bowie. I can listen to
Yeah.
Rolling Stones. I can explore music. I can make playlists and actually have the time to listen to them.
Mhm.
So I started making playlists, and inevitably it depends on your mindset. I have a blues playlist that if
Mm.
you're depressed, you know what I mean, it will
Mhm.
get you through your depression because these people are more depressed than you are. Uh,
Yeah.
or the blues and country songs like, they shot my dog and my wife
Yeah.
left me and my truck
Yeah.
broke down. At least, hey, I'm just stuck at home, right? And then I have my dance playlists where I have
Uh-huh.
all these things like, my Katy Perry, I have my Bruno Mars,
Uh-huh.
and then I have my rock and roll.
Mhm.
And then I started listening to my dad's music, and I love Spotify, but I never really explored Spotify before this.
Mm.
So I started like, okay, let's download Johnny Mathis, Perry Como, Frank
Oh,
Sinatra. And I started going back to my memories of when my dad would be painting in our garden. And I used to have to be the one to flip the cassette because he
oh.
didn't know how to work a cassette player. So I'd be watching him painting, I would refill his glass, and I would switch the tape. And I realized that these are the songs that would be playing, and I had forgotten about those things. So that alone is something to smile about.
Galing.
Mhm.
When you realize
Mm.
that you've lived a life this long.
Mhm.
I'm 48, I'm turning 49 this year. I've had a lot of experiences, I've had a lot of ups and downs,
Mm.
and none of them killed me.
Mhm.
I'm still here,
Yes.
bumping my head against, the powers that be, and trying to get a better life and trying to have a comfortable life and trying to do what I love to do.
Mhm.
But if you can't find something to smile about,
Yeah.
if you are lost in your darkness, then the one thing that you can do is to be the reason that somebody will smile.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Galing.
That is
Because
so
then
beautiful.
you can reach out to somebody and just say, how are you doing? Kamusta?
Ah.
Kumain ka na? Do you need to talk? Because if you can't find a reason to smile, you can be a reason to smile.
Ganda nun, Jamie.
And that alone can lead you out of that darkness because, it's like theater. For 2 hours, I am not me. So I don't have my problems. I'm playing
Mhm.
a character who has a
Mm.
different set of problems that will end in 2 hours. Then
Yeah.
I have to go back to being Jamie and going, okay, how do I pay the bills? You know, but how do I make ends meet, or
Yeah.
how do I juggle all this, right? But for
Yes.
those 2 hours that you were, in conversation with somebody, this was happening during the pandemic where people were ready to give up. And I don't know how I became the 3 a.m. phone call of like, Jamie. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, kamusta? How are you? And
Mm.
that took me out, even for a few minutes or however long that conversation with me, that took me out of my problems
Mhm.
so that I can listen to somebody else's problems and maybe help them, get through and wake up the next morning thinking, okay, maybe I'll find a reason to smile today. So if you
Right.
can't find a reason to smile, you can be a reason to smile. And that'll actually help you
Yeah.
smile.
I think I actually, can so relate to that. I don't know if seen a couple of days ago I posted about my ADHD, my HPD, my depression, etc. That's something that I've lived with all my life. And you're right. Yeah, because of my manic moments, there's always a reason, that I would be smiling because I'm manic.
Mm.
Hey, I
Yeah.
love that. I love this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
during my depressive moments, and I would be like, oh, what's the reason today? You're right. I'm motivated by that as well. Maybe I can show up and be the reason for hope for
Yeah.
someone else,
Yeah.
or be the reason to smile.
I also like what you
Yeah.
said, Jamie. If things are not going right, the music plays a big part because it
Mm-hmm.
brings you back. If what I'm experiencing right now is something I don't like,
Mm-hmm.
but listening to music takes me out of it and brings me to a happy place, to a happy
Mm-hmm.
memory. Parang
Yes.
all of a sudden the resources that you need, all of a sudden nasa iyo na agad, di ba?
Are
Like
Yeah.
there.
I like it because it doesn't really have to take that much of an effort. But you get it instantly because of the anchors,
Yeah,
like of music,
yeah.
of your
Mm.
dad.
And
And
it doesn't have to be as deep as that. Like we have music that we do our chores to. Like if I'm washing dishes, it's Michael Jackson because all of a sudden washing dishes is fun.
you
You know,
know
the
what?
way you make me
The,
feel, diba? You know, or well, like just this morning, I had to go to the grocery because I had to buy supplies, and I was listening to Justin Timberlake. Can't
Right.
fight this feeling, and I'm dancing there in the aisles, and of course, our
Right.
usual. The people in our stands know me already now. Oh, tama si sir. Oh, DJ pa rin yan. And I'm spinning my cart, and I'm getting things off the shelf. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it's something that will immediately transport you out of your current mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
even you're wearing a mask, you're wearing a face shield, you're alcoholing everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the right music feeding you, then it's
Uh-huh.
part of your choreography,
Oh yeah.
diba?
Yeah.
and this is
Definitely.
why we see that you're a strong person, even if you're saying that I have
Or even if you said
insecurities, I have this and I have that.
what we want kasi
I'm
what we wanted talaga was to herald that. Like, we see a person, we see a human being, and you or even a person that we're interviewing, they gloss things over. Like we interviewed Senator Bamakino and he said, I'm not really strong, but I'm steady. Dude, it takes strength to be steady,
Yeah, I would
right?
love I would love to be steady. I'm up or down, man.
Exactly. Or someone would say, I don't think I'm strong because I've had my down moments or I've been scared. Whoever said that strong people were never scared or that I've cried through these things? Whoever said that if you're strong, you never cried? So let's break down those, stereotypes of what strong should be. But it's in the
Yeah,
everyday human being and it's in the
yeah,
everyday things wherein what you said a while ago, I choose, I still have a fight to win. It's
yeah,
about those daily things that I have to continue and forge through and say, I'm still alive, and that's what makes me strong. And if I'm not that okay, and if I go down and die, at least I die fighting. So I
yes.
love that one.
And the popular culture also really works. I mean, I watch it. Everybody's watching a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to what Alfred said to Batman, to Bruce Wayne. It's not how far you fall; it's how you pick yourself up.
Ah, yes, yes, yes,
Or
absolutely.
Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, and the power that each of us have in our lives, that we can affect other lives. That's a power. Me getting in front of a microphone, that's power.
Absolutely.
Me being on stage, that's power. So there
Yeah.
is a responsibility that comes. That's why my musical tastes have changed. Like I don't listen to a lot of like punk or aggressive death metal anymore, because
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm just living in the anger. I
Mm.
have to I have to find my way through the anger. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm open to all musical styles, but then what will give me hope? What will make put a smile on my face? What will even take me through darkness?
Mm-hmm.
But if I see one point of light at the end of the tunnel, then
Mm.
that's enough for me. At least there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Or if you don't, I always remember I have my faith. I have the people who believe in me. They're my flashlight in the darkness.
I love what Gold would always say to me because whenever we would learn about the brain, about NLP, a lot of these things, and she's like, I would really love Jamie to hear this because he's already doing it. It's like you're already that testimony that without all of these, you know, theories, books, and science basis, whatever jargon, you're already doing it in your life and you're evidence of that. So I love
Yeah,
that.
she keeps on telling me that, but with a slight inis in her voice. I'm explaining this to you and you're nodding because you already know this instinctively. I'm like, it's just the way I guess my brain is working. But then for me, it's
Mm,
always a combination. It's
mm,
very important that your brain works in concert with your heart.
yeah,
And somewhere in between there's your soul. And your
yeah,
soul is so important. You have to believe
yeah,
in a higher power, in a guiding power. You have to believe
right,
in something bigger than yourself, whether it be, the magic that happens within a theatrical show,
Yeah.
or if you subscribe to a faith or a religion
Mm-hmm. True that.
that will guide you. It's so important because if it's all about me, or if I am the end all be all, I
Mm-hmm.
am so aware of all my faults and my flaws
Mm-hmm.
that, good Lord, it shouldn't stop with me. There's
Right.
got to be
Right.
something, you know
Right.
what I mean? There's got to be
Right.
something bigger out there.
And
It can't be all me because I'm going to screw
yeah.
things up,
Yeah, and,
you
and
know?
and that's and that's the fascinating part, because you're like, again, going back to the science behind that, people who have well-being, or who are resilient, they have meaning. And they're able to see a positive emotion, whether it is a silver lining, a learning, or a purpose, or peace, contentment, or fun. So you're able to do that.
Something to smile about.
Yeah, those are like,
Something
you're
to
you're
smile about.
you're
Or you
seeing
know what?
those.
Or shelter from the storm.
Yeah, you're
Just
seeing those things that are like,
you know,
oh, there's that science there. That's, Jamie's like, wow, look at all of the evidence. And that's why we like this stories of strength, because we wanted to get evidence.
And bring strength closer to people. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people think that strength, power, it's like far fetched. It's something far fetched. Parang,
Something you're born
yeah,
with.
I know, or I have to achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
listening to the
No,
people
it's there.
interviewed,
Yeah.
all it takes is like a smile,
Yeah.
a song,
Yeah.
a
A
choice,
switch. I
right?
like that.
It's a switch. It's
It's
how
Mhm.
you
bring,
play your brain.
yeah,
And
it's
you can
Exactly.
play
bringing it
your
closer.
brain. You can
Exactly.
play your brain. It depends really on what your agenda is,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
your purpose is, what your, like there are some days where today I want to be dark,
Yeah.
and I will be
Yeah.
dark. I
Yeah.
will wallow in my
Sure.
darkness.
Yeah.
Diba? And that's perfectly fine because it's a conscious choice.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
So
valid.
a lot of people don't realize that it's a conscious choice for them to, they can either pull themselves out
Mm-hmm.
or they can wallow.
Yeah.
It's just about, realizing what kind of support systems do you have? What are your resources?
Mm-hmm.
And for
Absolutely.
me, every time I'm lost in the darkness, and sometimes it gets very, very dark, the
Mm-hmm.
people who love me and the
Mm-hmm.
people who believe in me are my flashlight. You carry your own light. You don't have to depend on the light at the end of the tunnel or light from the heaven. You have your own light. So all you have to do is switch it on,
I love that.
you know?
I
The
the
question that we ask
yes.
all of our guests, game.
Yeah. You've talked about people who love you and people who believe in you. I want you to imagine, Jamie. Now let's role play a little bit, theater. Role play. Imagine that there's this persona who is the summation of everyone you love. Your Tita Mila, your mom, your dad, Gold, your sisters, everyone else who looked at you with admiration. I want you to imagine that kind of persona, and I want you to name me three things that you are so proud of about Jamie.
I'm glad you picked yourself up and discovered that responsibility isn't a bad thing. One,
Mhm.
responsibility is not a four-letter word, so that's
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
You become responsible.
Yeah.
Number two, you stop taking yourself too seriously,
Mhm.
and you've actually developed a sense of humor,
Mhm.
and you can laugh at yourself. That would be number two. And number three would be di ka pa tapos.
Mm.
So don't rest on whatever you think you've achieved. There's more work to do.
Ah, how nice, how
That
beautiful.
would be the three. Hindi ka pa tapos. Tuloy
Nice.
mo lang yan.
And we just want to say thank you. And you said a while ago about people who believe in you, people who love you, and we're those people too. We're here, so we love you, Jamie, and we so
Thank
believe
you.
in you. Um,
This conversation has been very entertaining for me. Sobrang
enlightening as
dire-diretso
well.
yung questions, and I loved every minute of it. Thank you so
And
much.
kulang
Thank you.
syempre yung time.
Of course.
We really wanted more, and siguro maybe next time in person
Yes,
with
please.
scotch
Sure.
on the
Sure.
rocks,
Sure.
but socially distanced, but
Socially
safety
distant.
protocol.
Tested and swabbed.
Yes, let's
But
do that.
thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for thank you for the purpose that you've given Gold. Because she's outside right now doing a talk, and I love listening to her through the wall, because when I'm hovering around her, she gets innocent with me. She doesn't like me seeing her do this. So I listen through the walls. And I can't tell you how thankful I am, because she has found a purpose also in enlightening people, in motivating people, in creating ways for them to better themselves.
Mhm.
And I see that impact of hers on her in her daily life. And then of course she makes me mando, because of course, I have to better myself also, which is good, right? Which is good. She tries to NLP me, and I know it when she's NLPing me, you know.
Love it. You know,
But thank you. Thank
of
you so much for all
course.
your love and your support.
Oh, and we love you guys.
That was rock and roll.
And true to form,
True
like
to form.
true to form. It's very Jamie.
Yeah, he said, it's always been sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So he still rocked. And I love, his stories. I've always loved how he would tell stories of his path, because it's path, past. Kasi napaka-colorful talaga ng buhay niya. I mean, he only got to share a tiny bit of that. But imagine, what he's been through. The details of the drugs and the rock and roll have really been very colorful, if you've known Jamie for so many years.
Yeah.
And he was able to get out of that.
Alam mo, si Jamie, when you see him, di ba, sa intro pa lang natin, sabi natin parang he has a big personality,
Yeah.
talagang lakas ng dating, and talagang with that rock and roll image pa, parang talagang tough guy, right? And I don't know about you, but every meeting with Jamie, parang walang audio video lock, no? Parang
Oo.
this is how he looks like, but he's a very gentle person.
He has such a great heart. He's actually yung parang Mentos, tough on the outside, soft on the inside. He's very vulnerable. He's very open to listening to people, and I think that's what makes him strong.
Yun nga parang I find it hard to connect to people sometimes na ganun yung outside, but he is able to connect with me, like ang galing parang I'm drawn to that kindness.
And I think it's because of vulnerability. He's willing to expose himself.
Yeah.
He's willing to look back at his past, own his past, and, apologize. Kung meron ako nasaktan, if there's someone that I've hurt in the past, I apologize. If they want to take me back into their lives, sure. If not, that's fine too. That's part of the consequence. Ano yun grabing bravery yun, yung haharapin mo yung mga taong nagawan mo ng pagkakamali, or yung mga taong kahit hindi mo masyadong kilala, and just to be open and share your story.
And taking control of your life. Sobrang dun yung parang
Oo.
listening to the interview. Talaga parang he did just that. Like it was very hard kasi ang dami niyang pinagdaanan. There were a lot of parang challenges na no turning back na yun.
Right.
And yet there was this one point and he said na parang no, you know what? I'll make myself better. I'm going to take charge. I'm going to do this even if it's painful. Diba? And approaching people he wronged.
Yes.
Diba? So, galing. Sobrang admirable.
Ang daming nagsasabi kasi in our past interviews, of course, asking for help is crucial. Asking for, seeking advice of people, or going through rehab, for example, for someone who's been through addiction is crucial and important. And at the same time, it can also be done by sheer will. Alam mo yan, yun dun yung, kaya ba siya ng sheer willpower? Oo, look at this person. Nagawa niya just by a firm resolve. And I think it's important to dissect that Ano yung nakakontribute doon sa resolve na yon? And I think it's that meaning that he was able to generate at the lowest point of his life. He was able to see na, is this the kind of person my father wants me to be?
Yep.
Or the kind of person my mother wants me to be? And then, falling in love with somebody, I mean, that's very important. Not just the meaning, but that sense of connection, and having a support system is very important. Na, yung iba siguro sabihin, sana all merong ganong klaseng nagmamahal sa akin para sumuporta sa akin. 'Di ba? Pero void of that, kung wala kang sabihin na nating love life, there are still people out there who would be willing to have your back to say to you, kung meron kang desisyon na gagawin na para sa ikabubuti mo, for your good, we're here. We're
Sige,
here for you.
let's talk about that love life now. That plays a very crucial role in his life, and that gives him reason to smile. And kung wala nga love life, he also said something na
Find a reason.
if you can't find a reason to smile, be that reason for someone else's smile.
Yeah.
For someone else to smile. So, alam mo yun, para kahit walang love life, guys, edi ikaw magpasaya sa ibang tao. So, it's still possible, right?
Alam mo, when we were doing work in calamities, one of the things that we were told, kapag ka merong taong sobrang hirap na hirap at merong pinagdadaanan dahil dun sa kalamidad, because of that calamity, we were told na give that person a task. Whether it's giving out food, whether it's caring for someone else who is crying, or praying with a group of people, being able to do something beyond yourself is going to help that person recover. Than for this person na mag-isa lang, umiiyak lang mag-isa at walang tumutulong sa kanya. So, I think that is really truly helpful for Jamie because meron siyang kaakibat, someone that he can go to, someone that he could lean on. But even before his wife came into the picture, he already made that resolve.
Yeah, and we had this talk also with the wife, and she was like, I don't baby him, you know what to do? Parang,
You do what you gotta do.
I can't do it for you, so you have to do it yourself. So I think ang galing din that, there is a support system, but it's not entirely the support system.
It's also his resolve.
It's his choice to become better, and that's why he did stuff to change.
So guys, if you are feeling that way na you're in a rut, you're with friends who are not very good for you, you're into that, addiction, we're talking about, yung nalululong at nandoon ka talaga in the midst of something that is bad for you, know that you can get out of it. Know that by that choice, you can say, I can stop this. Now, kung nahihirapan ka to get out of it, there are other people that can support you. There are people that you can go to. If you can say, I'm not like Jamie Wilson, na kaya ko yan by sheer resolve, well then, by all means, reach out. By all means, ask for help. But make that day-to-day decision for you to be better. That's a very strong way to claw yourself out of a hole. Huwag kang magstay dun sa hole na yon. Get out of it.
So I guess that's it. Again, keep on rocking and keep on rolling, and take charge of your life as you find your story of strength. So see you in our next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.